Okay, so we are in activity 1.18, and over the weekend you were given homework to read the story on 1.18, which is There Will Come Soft Rains. I hope you did it because you're not going to be able to do much until you read it. So please make sure that gets done if you didn't do that already. So in this activity, you will read a short story, which you already did, and use the SIFT strategy. We've already talked about it, which is, I can't think, symbol, imagery, figurative language, and tone or theme. Remember the SIFT strategy? To determine what the author is conveying through his literary choices. So in order to get a deeper understanding of the story and the background, I hope you read about the author, and if not, I'm going to talk about it right now. So, Ray Bradbury is remembered mostly as a fantasy writer, although he also wrote horror, science fiction, and mysteries. He is best known for his novels Fahrenheit 451, The Martian Chronicles, and The Illustrated Man. He loved reading and at an early age became obsessed with science fiction when a guest at his parents' boarding house left behind some science fiction magazines. When Bradbury was 12 years old, a magician touched his head with an electrically charged sword and said, "Live forever." That one moment inspired him to start writing, and he wrote every day from that point on. Bradbury published more than 30 books, close to 600 short stories, and numerous poems, essays, and plays. Many of his works have been adapted into television shows or films. Um, we have written, or gosh, we have read a couple of his works already, and we will be reading more this year. I love his short stories. This particular story, There Will Come Soft Rains, was written in 1918, which was during World War One and during the pandemic of the flu. There was a flu pandemic. So maybe that will help you understand this a little bit more, I hope. So, okay, so you've already read it, and then we are going to go through here and answer some questions. Okay, so for number one, what is the organizational structure of the story? First, you have to understand what are organizational structures. And we talked about this last year. Remember? Sequence, description, cause and effect, compare and contrast, problem and solution. Remember those? So, what is the organizational structure of this story? And then, what effect does that structure? So, if you said it's sequence, what effect does sequence have in the story? If you said it's description, what effect does description have on the story, etc. Okay, so and then you need to provide evidence of the text to support that. So, what is the structure and what effect does it have on the story, and cite evidence. Um, and I want you to think about just this question: how does the clock contribute to the structure? Think about that. How does the clock contribute to the structure of the story? Okay, number two. In the lines, in the living room, the voice clock sang as if it were afraid that nobody would. What literary device is he using? And then what effect does he achieve by using this particular device? So when we're talking about literary devices, we're talking about things like metaphors, similes, personification, onomatopoeia. There's so many more. So those are words that you have been talking about for years in English class. So think about in the living room, the voice clock sang as if it were afraid that nobody would. What device is he using? And then what effect does he get by using that? Okay, think about the house, think about the characters, all right? Literary device. And then number three, we are going to go over together. What is ironic about the author's description of the house as having a mechanical paranoia? Now, if we go back to paragraph 14, That's where it talks about mechanical paranoia. Okay. Until this day, how well the house had kept its peace, how carefully it had inquired, "Who goes there? What's the password?" And getting no answer from lonely foxes and whining cats, it had shut up its windows and drawn shades in an old maidenly preoccupation with self-protection, which bordered on a mechanical paranoia. So, what makes this ironic? What is ironic about the author's description of the house as having a mechanical paranoia? So basically, if you think about it, the house is trying to protect itself from intruders, right? It's asking who goes there. If no one answers, or if the house doesn't recognize the voice who answers, then it doesn't let anyone in, right? Um, so it makes sure that everyone that's inside the house is safe from the things that are outside of the house. So it's trying to protect the humans inside of the house, but the humans are no longer there. So what is the house trying to protect? So basically what we're talking about is that um, technology is survived by the humans. So the technology is living longer than the humans are. Now, if you remember in the story, it's saying that today is August, whatever, 2026. And if we think about it, that's only 6 years away. 5 years, 5 to 6 years away. When he wrote this in 1918, technology was just starting to pick up. Factories were a thing, right? And cars just started. And so this whole idea of having technology, this was scary. This was a very scary story, right? So the author is talking about trying to protect humans by using this technology, but the author didn't take into consideration that technology could maybe outlast humans. So that's how it's kind of ironic. Okay. So again, you do not have to do number 3, and you also do not have to do number 4. We're kind of discussing this together. Okay. So what is the significance of the repeated reference to rain throughout the story? Why does he keep mentioning rain? What do you think? Remember, the house is trying to protect people. Can the house protect people? Can technology protect people from nature? Not really. I mean, the house can recommend that you leave the house with an umbrella so that you don't get wet, but it's going to rain no matter what the technology does, right? So rain is representing nature here. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. So you're going to answer questions 1 and 2, and then you're going to come down here and you are going to do working from the text. And I think you did this in 1.16. You are going to find symbols in the text using evidence, using quotes, and then explain the meaning of the symbol. And I want you to find 2 for each thing. So you're going to find 2 symbols, 2 pieces of imagery. Figurative language should be easy. There's figurative language all over this place. Metaphors, similes, personification, onomatopoeia, it's everywhere. So find at least 2, and I encourage you to find more. And then 2 tone or theme of the story. Okay, and then explain the effects of it. 2 symbols, 2 imagery, 2 figurative language, and 2 tones. So you're going to answer questions 1 and 2 and 5. Okay, let me know if you have any questions.